She is an active participant in various NGOs promoting the psychosocial well-being of school children, people with Alzheimer's, substance abusers, transgenders, single mothers, and so on. Manjari is also a part-time senior lecturer at the Newcastle University Medicine, Malaysia. She has published various topics on mental retardation, pedagogy, and communication skills. She is a member of the Malaysian Psychological Association too, in short, PSIMA, a chartered member of British Psychological Society and an international affiliated member of American Psychological Association. Her special interests include early intervention, abnormal psychology, mental retardation, and psychological assessment. So, well, dear participants, she is well experienced, in all the questions that you may have for her today. So please feel free to ask her as many questions as you can. Trust me, I'm not answering. All the answering comes from her. My job is just to help moderate the entire session. Before going on to her, let me run a poll. All I need you to do is answer these questions. Will this be a myth or truth? So question one comes up. You will see it on your screen. If you answer them, I'll give you. We'll take about 30 seconds to run the poll. It's launched. So please answer, and once you have done, we will start with our speaker today. Thank you. Are you all able to see the poll? Yes. Okay. I can see some answers coming in. There are 3 questions. We have more than 100 people who have answered. All right, another 15 seconds. Or you're maybe not sure of the answers. I'm sorry, we don't have that option. It's either myth or truth. Okay, we still see more coming in. This is the first question that we will run for today in the poll. Later part, we have another poll for myth or truth for another 4 more questions. Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop the poll. Ending the poll. And let me share the results. And Manjari, over to you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mahit. Thank you, everyone. Good evening to everyone. So we will just start with the actual topic. I think those who said myth or fact, it doesn't really matter. I guess I can just give you the answer. For the first question, basically, if a woman doesn't like it, she can leave. I think that's the first question. Basically, women don't leave for various reasons. It can be financial, it can be children involved, there is no support. So for various reasons, I think the abused don't leave the relationship. So I'm not really saying it's women all the time. There are men also who are abused. Of course, we are not going into the figures right now. Okay. So the second one is women get beaten only when they ask for it. I think nobody asks to be beaten. No one wants to get hurt, I think. So definitely it's a myth. Okay. The third one, violence happens mostly in poor people's homes. I think the video that was played by Dixon and even the teaser, I think it's clear that it happens across the board, basically. Like there is no economic strata or educational background, nothing at all. Okay, so it happens in poor families, middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, rich, any family basically. Okay, right. So I will just share my screen now, and we will go into the topic straight away. Okay. All right. I think you can see the screen here.
Yes.
Right. All right. So domestic abuse, this is the topic that we are actually discussing, and we had the poll just now, and I have a small video clip here. Again, I would just like to make a request to everyone. Just pick out whatever you can identify from the video, as in what do you see, okay, with regard to abuse. Okay, please put it in the chat box, and we have our colleagues working on the chat box, and they will pick up the information from there. Yeah.
दीपक ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋ बहुत देर कर देते हैं की है शराब है हाँ
You are beautiful.
बहुत पी देती है
No, don't do that. Come
No.
here. Come here.
नहीं दीपक दीपक इतने नहीं दीपक नहीं क्या कर रहे हो अच्छा दिया ख्याल करो
Oh. Asleep.
दीपक दीपक
Okay. So I hope you have picked up a few important points from the video. I think we will go through those points maybe later, but I can just give you briefly what was actually happening. I think maybe you can actually see if your answers were correct. There was definitely sexual abuse, or rather marital rape. Okay, and initially the lady was actually having PTSD, okay, post-traumatic stress disorder basically, and she was having nightmares, and of course there was alcohol, there was a bit of the basic highlight was like children, right? So these things were actually happening. So now let's actually look at the objectives of this whole thing, why we are doing this, right? So we are trying to gain an understanding about domestic abuse. So to develop early identification and management of the types and signs of domestic abuse, the reason being that a lot of times, even if somebody is actually sharing information with us, it doesn't necessarily have to be a mental health professional only. It can be anybody. Okay, even if your friend is actually sharing something with you, whether you will be able to identify that he or she is actually talking about domestic abuse, right? To gain an understanding of causes and contributing factors towards domestic abuse and its consequences on mental health related conditions. So if there is domestic abuse that's actually happening in the family, there are those consequences or the impact on all the family members. It doesn't necessarily have to be the abuser or the abused, okay, or the victim. All right. So to gain an understanding of help that is available. Okay. So let us see what is domestic abuse. So I've just highlighted a few things in red so that you will be able to pick up those terms, which is maybe easy for you to remember also. It can be a direct or indirect violence or abuse. Okay. So acts of coercion, forcing, preventing the other person's access to their rights within the domestic sphere. It can happen to anyone, as discussed earlier. So regardless of age, social background, gender, religion, sexuality, or ethnicity. It's a pattern of violence. So you have to remember it is not a one-off type of an incident. So it happens repeatedly. Okay, it is there is a pattern, there is a cycle that which we will be discussing soon, right? Maintain power over a partner who is or has been in an intimate relationship. So that is why it is called domestic abuse. It is also known as domestic violence. So it is interchangeable, but violence is more of the act, an aggressive act. Okay. Fundamentally, domestic violence or abuse is about power and control. All right. So there are the three important characteristics, as you can see here: suddenness, aggressiveness, and destructiveness. Okay, so violent ideation, feeling, and behavior denotes those traits. So the types of abuse, okay, it can be verbal. That means the person actually, uses abusive language, can use four-letter words, anything, okay. Non-verbal is basically physical, okay. Sexual, it can be like marital rape, which we saw in the movie clip. Psychological or emotional, economic or financial abuse, okay. So you can see some of the examples that are here, okay. So verbal, of course, abusive language; physical, bruising, hitting, cutting, burning, pulling hair, homicide, okay. Sexual, rape, forced termination. Psychological, it will be intimidation, denial or privacy or freedom, okay. Denigration, putting down basically, or threats. Financial, money for personal needs, bargaining for sexual pleasure. I think the sexual part, if you ask me, I can just give you an example of, see, we all come from different ethnicities and cultures and all that. So in certain cultures and certain races or religion, even for that matter, the marital rape is a very common thing, okay? So it's basically, I mean, I have had patients who were actually having their menstrual cycle, and the partner actually forced himself onto the person, and I mean, it was like very traumatizing. Okay. So if you don't want to have intimacy or sexual intercourse or whatever, I think anybody can actually voice it out. But if that is actually not respected, then definitely it comes under the sexual abuse. Okay. I guess financial is, again, whether the person is able to support the individual or not, or he promises something but he does not come home. Okay, that actually can come under the psychological or the emotional abuse. Okay. So what happens to the consequences of the victim? So we are actually focusing on the victim. So this is something important, because the person who is the victim or who is being abused, he or she may not be able to put up with the trauma unless, some support he or she gets, right? So the usual thing that they actually do is they try to harm themselves, okay, because the pain is so much that they don't know how to express it, okay. So they may have scrapes, bruises, wounds, fractures, unwanted pregnancies, because again, if it is going to be like a marital rape, then definitely it's not a planned pregnancy type of a thing. It can be some sort of an accident. Complications during pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases. Again, this is, some sort of a sadistic behavior, I would say. Even STDs, getting transmitted to the partner because the person did not satisfy his needs at that particular time. And it becomes like, he has maybe, multiple partners, and he's just, having intimacy or sex with his wife or his partner, and the STDs are definitely, transmitted. So of course, chronic pelvic pain. So psychologically, what happens is the individual develops low self-esteem, okay, emotional problems, depression and anxiety. Eating disorders is because they don't want to eat because they are depressed, and they don't have motivation, they don't have the mood, nobody is there to take care, nobody is there to listen to their stories, okay. Self-harm or suicide. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Alcohol and substance abuse. This is another very common problem. The first thing they sought to is alcohol, thinking that alcohol is actually going to help them to come out of the problem. Okay. Eating disorders, of course, is common. It's repeated here. So sleeping disorders. So they are unable to sleep for various reasons again. So social consequences, what happens? So if the person is not employed, okay, obviously they are dependent on the partner. Impact on work. If they are working, of course, there can be frequent absenteeism. Maybe they're not able to focus, they're not able to complete their tasks or work. They isolate themselves. They can accept any type of a job because they want to just get out of that particular situation and get away from that situation even for a few hours. So unemployment can also happen. Social isolation from family, friends, support networks, because the general understanding is that it's a private matter, okay, and I should not disclose it to anybody. All right. So if I'm close to my family members, maybe, if they ask me a question, okay, how are you putting up? What's happening to your, husband or partner or whatever? It's like, oh, maybe I just have to disclose everything. So I really don't know whether I want to do that, right? Homelessness, okay, impact on ability to make decisions, drink or drug behaviors, okay? These are some of the statistics that I could find. This is, of course, again, Women's Aid Organization. Okay, so until 2017. So you can see the figures. I didn't really put in a lot of statistics because of time constraints. Right, so domestic violence cases surge in Malaysia amidst COVID-19 pandemic. Now, again, there are so many reasons for this, okay? We have people losing their jobs. It can be, either of the spouses. It can be a male or a female, right? And people are at home. They are facing each other all the time, okay? And slightest thing is actually causing, problems. So basically, it all boils down to tolerance. How do we tolerate our partner or partners? Okay, partners as in, of course, depending again on the cultural, aspect. Right. So this is the cycle that actually I was referring to earlier. Okay, so if you can see here, there is a pattern. Okay, so this is called cycle of violence or domestic violence. Okay, now basically what happens is there is some sort of provocation that is actually happening. Okay, so if you are looking at it at any point of time, okay, the battering happens, there is apology or gift giving. So this particular stage is known as honeymoon stage. Okay, now, honeymoon stage is where if I'm the victim and if my partner has been abusing me, whatever he didn't do in the last maybe so many months or years, okay, he would do that. Okay, maybe take me out, maybe buy something for me, maybe a dress or a good meal or something like that he would do. And that is why it is called honeymoon stage, where I can actually feel that, oh, this person actually has changed. Okay. But it doesn't stop there and it continues to fault finding. So basically, there is always the third factor or third party, slightest thing that actually triggers off. Okay. If there are two people, it can be anything, anybody said something which is not really relevant, but it does happen. Okay. So they can be jealousy also. Okay, so that means the person who is abusing can be jealous for various reasons. Okay, so there is tension building again, and there is provocation, there is battering. So it just continues. Okay, so if we have to get out of this, if I have to get out of this particular cycle, I should identify that this is actually what is happening to me, and I should be able to break it somewhere. If I'm not able to break it, then I will not be able to get out of it, because the honeymoon stage is so tempting. And every time, trust me, the victim forgives the abuser. Okay, and he or she thinks that, oh, everything is going to be fine, it's just a passing phase. Oh, he's so loving, he really loves me, so I may just want to continue in the relationship, right? So victim self-injury, why does it actually happen? So self-injury is often mistaken as a failed suicide attempt. Okay, so why actually does it happen? And we had seen in the previous slide also, because they are so helpless and they are so hopeless, they don't know what to do. Okay, so they can get suicidal. It's like, basically, it's my life and nobody can actually stop me, from doing this self-harm or whatever. Other thoughts, emotions to focus on. To relieve stress, it's a very, very common thing. Okay, pain or anxiety. Expressing anger, and anger is actually not towards the abuser, it is towards the victim himself or herself, okay, towards self, okay. Past history of abuse. I can actually give you an example, okay. I'm one of my patients actually, a young adult, okay, and she's doing a professional course. And she was exposed to abuse at home, and whatever we saw in the slides, everything happened to her at home, okay. And she used to look up to the father as a role model, okay. And now she's in a denial stage, and she is going through a lot of confusion, conflict, and finally she herself has got borderline personality disorder, where she keeps self-harming, okay. She takes a penknife and she cuts herself, and she is into, you know, multiple partners. She actually doesn't know who she is, her identity, identity crisis she's having. She thinks she's bisexual. All this the parents don't know, okay. So this can actually happen to the children, okay. Social pressures, multiple roles, early loss of parents, lack of compassion, self-view as victim, decreased warmth of and affection at home. So lack of access to coping strategies, worries about internal examinations, worries about giving birth, okay. Now, giving birth is another problem, because if I bring a child into this world, into this type of a family, how am I going to take care of myself and the child? Okay, so that also can be a problem. Now, there is another important thing which is known as stalking. Okay, so there is online or cyber stalking. There is physical stalking. Okay, in the UK, stalking is a crime, whereas in Malaysia it is not. And again, WAO is looking into that. Okay, so they started having like online petitions and things like that. I can again give you an example. My own patient, okay, they were divorced, and you know, the husband started stalking her, literally, physically, okay. And she was so scared for herself and the children, and she approached the police to get some sort of a protection order, and the police, I believe, issued it. I mean, so she is having that type of a protection. But the fear is so much that she lives in a luxury condo, and the fear is so much that she just cannot come out of the house or the condo, basically. Okay, so this is about stalking. Okay, now the important point here is, rather one of the important points is that role of children. Okay, so if you can see here, the child can take the role of a responsible child, adjusting child or lost child, placating child, adjuster or joker, or rebellious child. Okay, responsible child as in he or she starts to play the hero of the family. Okay, so the child thinks that, you know, I have to be there for my mother, be there for my siblings, I just have to play the role, you know, I have to sort of protect my family. All right. Adjusting child or lost child basically goes to, you know, the maybe next step where everything is like, I can just tolerate it, I'm okay with it, there is nothing to complain about, I'm fine, you know, type of an attitude. Placating child is again a jester also, but becomes the sort of a clown in the family, sort of a joker. So he or she is putting up a face where, you know, I just have to smile for everything, I have to comfort everybody, and I have to, you know, maintain the peace at home. The rebellious child is exactly like opposite. Okay, so doesn't know how to behave, thinks this is the right way to behave, can go into substance abuse, misuse, or whatever. Okay, so that's how becomes the rebellious child. So basically, the unwritten rules in the family become don't talk, don't feel, don't trust. Okay, this is exactly what happened to my patient that I was giving you an example earlier. The father actually told this young adult when she was a kid that it's a very private matter, okay? And it is, and the way that the message is put across is basically the family respect is important. So don't talk to anyone, okay? So this child, I mean, when she was a child, thought that, oh yes, I think I have to keep the family secret. So basically it's like don't talk, don't feel, and don't trust, okay? So what happens to the children, okay? So they can't concentrate on studies, difficulty in having fun, loss of self-esteem, depression, fear, anxiety. lack of care and warmth, living in fantasies, guilt, fear of any type of an accident, insult, loneliness, isolated. Okay, so basically they don't have a role model. Okay, I guess we all come from families where we do have positive role models, right? Even if it is not 100%, yes, we all can have mistakes. I mean, have done or had done some mistakes, but we do realize that at some point of time, and we may say, oh, I'm so sorry, to the child, and we try to, move forward, as a family together, but it doesn't happen in the abused families, okay? Lying and stealing, denial, minimize, discount, and rationalize. That's what I gave you the example earlier. So suppression of anger to avoid fight, suppression of hopes to avoid disappointment, because a lot of promises were made earlier, but it was not kept. So I don't want to, hope for anything. I don't want to look forward to anything, basically. Suppression of affection to avoid rejection, because it's basically I'm looking for some sort of acceptance, but if that is not happening, obviously exactly the opposite is happening, that is rejection. Okay, and it's very difficult for me to accept that. Difficulty with intimate relationships. Okay, sometimes people can actually be very vulnerable because the love and the warmth or affection that maybe if I'm the child, if I did not get it, if somebody actually shows it to me, I can actually go towards that person. It's basically like a chocolate, right? So these are the common responses of children. Okay, so basically, the telling the father, don't scream, don't shout, and tell mom to stop crying. My mother loves me, no matter what she says, it's true, things like that. So you can see here, there are some examples. So generally, what do we do? Okay, of course, this is again in our consultations. If somebody comes up with this, sharing an incident or something, we do believe, okay? I'm not questioning the person, oh, is it really happening? Is it true? No, I believe that it is happening, okay? And treating health consequences, yes, we do support, we do document it. Follow-up is required. Okay, we are identifying the risk, and if there are any children involved in that, safeguarding role and signposting as in, is this happening, or is there some sort of a warning sign or anything like that? Okay, safety planning, including exit plans. Okay, so sometimes what happens is the perpetrator or the person who has been abusing the victim is there during the consultation session, so we do request that person to step out for a while, okay? And pregnant women with domestic abuse can use different color stickers. This is actually not happening in Malaysia. I have not seen, but I believe in the UK it does happen. But we do tell people, if they need any help, they can email us or they can send WhatsApp messages. I know somehow they have to just reach out, okay? So basically handling domestic violence for the victim is that accept violence is a crime, okay? And a lot of times what happens is individuals start to blame themselves, and it can be the child also. Oh, maybe because I was noisy, maybe because I was doing some sort of mischief, that is why my father or mother, whoever, got into an argument, or they were abusive, things like that. Ask for help, become physically, psychologically, and emotionally strong, break the cycle of violence. So problem solving techniques, again, identify what is my concern, what do I want to achieve or change, brainstorm, what can I do? Consequences, what might happen if I don't seek help? Decision, how should I do it? Implementation is do it. So do not delay, okay? Evaluation, did it work? If it didn't work, then maybe I need to look out for something else. So this is again an important thing, okay? The personality scan that we all have to do is basically whether we fall under this type of a category, okay? Especially for the victim, the person has self-pity or not. Self-pity is basically the poor me feeling, which is very, very typical of the victim. And he or she thinks that I'm the only person who is actually having this problem and there is no help available. And if we have this poor me feeling, it is literally going to kill an individual, because there are so many out there. Of course, some are reported cases, some cases don't get reported, okay? But help is still available, okay? So it's better to ask for help. So the treatment, psychotherapy, there are different types of psychotherapy that are available. Okay, generally what I do is I do the CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. Again, depending on the problem. If it is a borderline personality disorder patient, I would definitely do DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. CBT, how it works is it works on negative thoughts, okay? And a negative thought can give rise to emotions, feelings, okay? And how an individual can actually manage himself or herself. So there are certain techniques and all the individual learns and how to make use of those techniques to deal with emotions, feelings, and the negative thoughts, okay? Group therapy is again very effective. At the end of the day, we are looking at the behavior modification because whatever you see outwardly is behavior. Okay, we are trying to bring about a change in the behavior. All right. So, in summary, domestic violence is common. It may start or worsen during pregnancy, can have dire consequences for the woman, fetus, or other children. The abused unlikely to volunteer the information. Confidentiality is important, but consider if other children at risk. So generally, whatever we are collecting information, we do keep it confidential. And if the person actually requests, please do not share this with anybody. Do not report to police. Yes, we don't share. But if there are children at risk, then we do have to share. Okay. But this is again, we have to inform the person also that, if this is going to happen, and we have to report to the police. Okay. So basically, that is all about it. Maheen, over to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Manjari. That was you kept it short and simple, just touched on the surface so many to understand. So of course, I believe some of you may be wondering and in depth, in terms of what can we get out of this domestic abuse and things like that. But before we go on to the questions, I do hope many of you have questions, and if you can just type on the chat. But before that, while you're typing them on the chat, we're going to run another poll on the myth or truth so that you are able to answer this as well. Okay, this is the second one. You should see it on your screen, and please, you can start answering them. Okay, should the answers coming? Okay, yep, more or less it stopped. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Awesome. Okay, here's the results. Manjari, you want to explain further on the poll?
Okay, I think the first one, domestic violence is a private problem. 75% of the participants here have said it's a myth. I think just now we discussed that actually it's not a private problem, right? It should be the public problem, as in it has to be like publicized. It has to come out of the four walls. Domestic violence is usually a one-time isolated occurrence. Again, 93% said it's a myth. Well, it is actually not, and it doesn't stop with one episode. It's not just that one-off type of an incident. It happens repeatedly. That is where the cycle of violence we saw. Okay. I guess, okay, those two questions. Yeah, Maheen?
Okay, you done that? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go to the next poll, right, let's recap on some of the things that you've mentioned. And of course, it is very troubling to be able to witness a domestic abuse situation. Yeah. So I believe a lot of these causes trauma. These are traumas, they can be throughout your life, and it can be very damaging as well. One of the first questions that I want to probably many people's mind, some of them did ask also, is domestic violence, is it hereditary or genetic?
Well, I mean, there are some studies which say that it can be like what you said, genetic or hereditary, but actually those, I mean, there are again studies which are saying that, it is not necessarily that, people actually are born aggressive or born as abusers and things like that. Okay. But there are so many contributing factors for an individual to become an abuser. Okay, like alcohol, again, there is a debate going on again. Alcohol can be a contributing factor, as in individuals can become aggressive once they are intoxicated, right? They don't realize actually what is happening. Say, for example, if the person has been an alcoholic for the last so many years, and the person may not realize actually what is happening, because if he actually has had a stage like a blackout or something like that, he doesn't recall anything, right? But I have also had patients, I mean, the family members especially, who actually came and said, oh, my husband actually, once he drinks, he's very calm. He doesn't say anything. Okay. So, I mean, this is from my experience that I'm sharing. All right. But the substance, definitely, even in the video that we saw, the Anna one, okay, the substance can be what shall I say, aggravating or contributing factor. And that can be in a different context also.
Okay. So for example, right, would jealousy be a contributing factor as well?
Yeah, of course. So if my partner, yeah, of course. Like, for example, if my partner is possessive of me, as in, he doesn't like me talking to somebody. Okay. Even if I'm talking to, it doesn't necessarily have to be a male member of the society. It can be even a female member of the society. The person can be jealous. And the jealousy can be, again, leading to some sort of suspicion that maybe I'm actually disclosing some information to the person. Right. So that can actually contribute also.
Okay. So when we started today, right, we started with the first poll. So of course, a couple of questions there were all women and things like that. So I believe a lot of men among the audience today may be suffering in silence. And obviously sometimes they hold back because it's the ego and stuff like that. They can't come out on the chat and also state something that they are also suffering in silence. So let me put my head on the slaughtering board, and on behalf of the men in the participant list today, right? So I believe for example, when we say that for domestic abuse comes from physical, comes from sexual, financial contributing. So for men, how do they suffer? Would it be because more of the mental state of the women, or would there be any other contributing factors?
I mean, there can be so many for that matter. And I mean, I totally agree with you. Generally, I think we say that, women are the victims, but there are male members of society also who are victims. Okay, of course, I don't have figures here to share because I didn't really bring in the statistics and all to keep it short. But yes, I do agree with, people here that there are male members of the society also who were abused, I guess, at some point of time.
Okay.
The contributing factors can be, if it is like, for example, if I'm the wife or the partner and I'm abusing my husband or my spouse, it can be, again, maybe my expectations are not met. Okay, a very common problem, again, I see in my practice is the in-laws problem, and the in-laws is just to share with you, the in-laws thing is not applicable only to Asian population. It is actually happening to the Westerners also. And that could be one of the reasons also. Okay, it can be some sort of paranoia or suspicion that maybe my partner is actually seeing another woman. Maybe he can't tolerate me. can be another contributing factor. I'm not happy with the salary that he's actually bringing, and maybe he's giving me. That can be another factor. Maybe he's not taking me out enough number of times, or I want more, can be another contributing factor. There are so many contributing factors. Okay.
So sometimes I believe the men folks would always make a joke out of this in order to de-stress themselves. Yeah, so that they know. I mean, this is more like a self-therapy. Just to quickly share, there was a joke. I mean, it was something shared with me. So this guy, he asked his wife to actually give him a massage on the head. He was having a headache, right? So most of the time he gets a headache. So the wife was massaging and she was wondering, dear, who would massage your head before we got married? He said, before marriage, I never had a headache.
Yeah, I know.
So, sometimes we make a joke out of it because we are not able to in a different perspective. But like I said, in fact, somebody in the audience actually brought out, sometimes we're only seeing partners, yeah, because most of the time we are stereotyping husband and wife, they have a quarrel, they have a fight. But sometimes a lot of abuse comes from the in-laws themselves, which they put on a lot on them. Maybe it could be on the son-in-law himself, or maybe in the daughter-in-law. So what's your take on this one? Were there cases that they've discussed with you to so how would you, in a sense, like if someone comes to you, of course, the first thing that you say, believe them, don't deny that. But when they come and tell you something like that, my in-laws are abusing me, right? Or it's my mother-in-law, she finds fault in everything and anything that I do. So how would you go about helping them to advise? I'm sorry I put you on it's a difficult question.
It's fine. It's an interesting question. Okay, generally what I do is if I am dealing with a woman, okay, and who claims that in-laws are abusing, I would definitely want to see the husband, okay, to understand the husband's perspective. And if there is a requirement, then I would definitely involve the in-laws also. And if it is the mother-in-law per se, then yes, mother-in-law or the whole in-laws family. But it is a bit difficult because again, the confidentiality part comes there. Okay, but I would definitely take into consideration if there are any children involved, or if it is, if it is going to be another contributing factor to the relationship itself of the husband and wife or the spouse, definitely then we need to look into the whole family situation. Okay, but if the wife came, generally what I do is I do get permission from the wife who is the patient. Okay, my patient she becomes my patient at that time. I will definitely get her consent for me to contact the husband first, because some people, they don't give consent to contact the husband. If that is the case, I can't, because we have our ethics also, the professional ethics to follow. But if that is actually happening and she is just one person in the whole consultation, then I try to sort of empower her, or maybe, make her strong to deal with her problems, not the in-laws' problems, but her problems. How that means her perceptions of the problem, if that makes sense.
Okay. There was also a question, right, from the Malaysian context, right? Do we have a percentage? Because sometimes there could be statistics coming from the ministry, from PDRM. There are a lot of collation of statistics, right? Is there statistics to show what number of cases that actually goes into, for example, it's financial, it's sexual, or in terms of gender, or any other contributing factors? Also in terms of, socioeconomics, or even races for the matter. Do we have any statistics on those?
I don't have anything right now, but I can just share with you. Okay, I only have till 2017, and it's based on, I can give you the male and female figures if you want. Johor was in 2017, 18 cases were reported, whereas male, there were only 4 cases reported. This is 2014 to 2017 statistics that I have. Unfortunately, I don't have the other statistics. So sorry about it.
Okay. I think also, right, because based on some of my experience knowing people from the enforcement as well, what happens is sometimes there is a case of a domestic violence which is reported. Of course, the police would come to the house and they would basically try to negotiate or get both of them to come to an understanding to basically, have a truce or peace, so that the case does not get reported. Because if they report the case and it goes into the next level, so a lot more damage is done to the relationship, to the family, and so forth. So many a times, this is the approach which is taken. I think that the numbers that we sometimes gets reported, I think those are very, for them is considered the high threat.
Yeah.
That means, there can be a serious physical danger. So I think the numbers are probably taken in that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So-
look, sorry.
Sorry, actually, whatever the figures that are reported, if you ask me, it's very, very superficial. And if you really go into details, there are definitely more than that. And a lot of people don't come forward to report. They are in that relationship for so many years and they just prefer to be in that relationship. Okay.
All right. Someone I think must be one of our young audience, or participant. So she actually had a question. Why do people even abuse ladies or girls? Is it because the men, they probably feel it's more of your superior and stuff like that? Or maybe they think that's their strength, but in fact, it is their weakness.
Yeah, very true. I mean, I agree with this person. Brilliant, I think. Well, I mean, if you're talking about, see, if you ask me whether it is male or female gender, I think it depends on an individual psychologically how strong you are. Okay. And we are not talking about the physical strength, I think. Okay, let's say, for example, again, if it is my partner maybe is stronger than me physically, but I'm definitely stronger psychologically. So if he is going to abuse me over and over and over and again, whether I want to be in this relationship or not, it's up to me to decide. Whether I have the support, I don't have the support, I have kids to support, I don't have a job, whatever it is. If I want to step out of the house, I can do it. Provided I have that clarity of mind that this is my life. I have to take care of my children and I am not going to entertain nonsense. Simple as that. But a lot of individuals, this is where the weakness comes of the female gender or female sex, I guess. Okay. A lot of people feel weak. That's why I highlighted to you in the personality scan, like again, what I see in my clinic also, they're constantly telling themselves that, oh, poor me, it's just me, it's just me. The self-pity is so strong in them, and that does not allow the individual to come out of the problem.
Because I think maybe, would it be possible because they are always putting on a false hope, thinking this would end,
Yes.
this would end, this would end, but then they cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel. So every time, they come to the end of the tunnel thinking that's the end, but actually they realize it's a bend.
Sure,
it's a corner, and they have to go through another journey and for on and things like that.
Yeah. The thing is, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing is that if the children are crying, especially say my partner comes home and the children are crying, I try to calm my children down so that he can actually have that peace so that he doesn't become abusive. Okay. If I'm thinking that I'm the cause for his temperament or the aggression or the violence or whatever, I may want to change myself. So many cases like that. They are constantly trying to please the partner. It can be male or female, anything. Thinking that they can actually calm the whole situation and everything is going to be under control.
But it never happens.
It doesn't happen because it's a pattern, that the cycle that you actually saw, it's a pattern. So if you want to come out of it, you have to break the pattern somewhere. So if the honeymoon stage is actually happening, you have to realize that, hey, this is actually happening. This is what happened last time. And I should be like aware that, yeah, this is again happening. And I should not allow it to happen.
All right. So Manjari, that's in fact a very good, notion to say. You already know the extreme that when you're deep in, you're not able to come out, right? So the golden question would be is, when do you decide to put a stop to it? In the beginning, when you start seeing something, right? So when do you actually say, oops, this is the beginning of a terror ride? Yeah. So how do I respond or react to this situation?
Yeah. So, okay, the personality scan that we saw in one of those slides there, actually it is applicable to the partner, either of the partners, basically, the male or the female. And if you see that suddenly the person is actually changing, like again, I put myself here, this is me. If I see changes in my partner, okay, whether I can actually realize or understand that, hey, usually he's not like this. Is there anything wrong, or is there like something happened? So if I'm that, what shall I say, conscious and cautious type of a partner, I would definitely want to find out what is actually happening. right? So is it like work-related stress? Of course, forget my profession, but otherwise also work-related stress or financial problem, or is it the COVID or what else? Okay. And if the person is in a position to answer, I think he would definitely answer. But if it is not happening, he's just, throwing a tantrum or fit or whatever, then I'll be like, oh, this is not him. Okay. But again, I have to keep a check what is happening and how many do I entertain. Okay. If it is verbal abuse, maybe 1, 2, to maybe double confirm. Physical abuse, no way. You have to stand up and say that, hey, don't do this. That's it. Right? Because even if it is 1 or half or quarter, physical abuse is definitely traumatizing. Actually, the verbal abuse itself is traumatizing.
We being Asians, we will always suffer in silence rather than standing up and to speak our mind and saying no, right? So you also said something interesting. I also came to the mind. So, for example, when we say domestic abuse, right? Domestic is someone known to us, correct? And we allow them in our inner space.
Yeah.
That means close private space, right? So in this context, right, if an employer abuses you verbally, would that be also be considered domestic abuse?
Employer comes at workplace. That can come under the workplace harassment, maybe. Because if you see the definition, actually, it is intimate partners. That is what it says. Okay. There is a workplace harassment also. Okay. I mean, there is help available, and I think there is a specific law and all for that. Okay. Yeah, that's a different thing. Yeah.
Right. One more question. Is there any stats to show that parents abusing their children in Malaysia? Do we have stats on that as well?
Yeah, of course, we do have cases. Like the one that I shared with you is very typical example. How many cases are reported again? I don't have figures. Okay. Okay, generally in my consultation, what happens is if it is a child or a young adult or whoever comes and talks about the problem that the family, the abuse was one of the contributing factors, I would definitely want to find out about, say, if it is my father who was abusing me, I would want to find out about my father's parents' upbringing. How did they bring up my father? That can be another contributing factor. Because see, generally what happens is, if you're talking about parenting skills, okay, generally no one attends any workshops unless you're a professional yourself, nobody attends a workshop or anything. It's basically what my parents did, I just follow. It just goes on. So if my parents were abusive, that's what I think is the right way to do it. And again, I have a lot of patients with me who are like, this was how I was brought up.
Brought up.
I used to use my parents used a cane with me, and that's exactly what I'm doing for my child, which is actually wrong.
Okay.
Right?
We have 20 more questions, but I'm going to race through them quickly. Yeah, like I said, this is an interesting topic. Okay, this is something interesting too. How to help someone who was raped by own family members and to forget the past, not to have bad dreams. This is a trauma, right?
Yes, it is a trauma. It is it's called PTSD. Basically, it comes under the category of incest, which is happening in the family. Okay, the term is called incest. Okay, which is happening in the family, and in Malaysia, it's a very common thing. And again, it is happening in certain races and cultures and ethnicities, I guess. It's hushed up. Basically, it's just pushed under the carpet because the family reputation, family name, it's sort of
more is at stake.
Yes. So people don't report it. But the interesting thing is, say again, I always give myself the example, it's very easy. Okay, if somebody actually did that to me, okay, it can be a molest or sexual assault or rape, the incest, okay. So generally, again, we have to take into consideration the age and whether it is under the statutory, rape, or the age, basically. And if I have to report it to the police, so you have to imagine how many times that rape is actually happening at my psych level. With police, it happens. Then I go to social worker, it happens. Then I go to counselor, it happens. Then I go to psychologist, it happens. So that same one episode is happening again and again. It's so
Rather than
traumatizing.
forgetting, it is
Yes.
actually bringing up too many triggers.
Yes, but it is the procedure. It is the procedure. You can't avoid it. So
Okay.
to go through the procedure, people may not want to report also.
Okay, yeah, because I think that alone takes another series of workshops or webinars to understand what are the implications and also the help that we can offer. Right. The next one we have is, okay, now you need to be like a magician. Do you have any tricks on how to encourage those who are doing through something like they're going through mental health, but it's not okay to seek help? How do you encourage them to go through?
Okay, honestly speaking, this is one way. We are creating awareness. Okay, we are trying to reach out to maximum people, and I was told that there were about 300 plus sign-ups, but I think there are only 170 or something here in the this particular Zoom seminar, Zoom webinar. Okay, the thing is creating awareness. Okay, we can reach out to them through some sort of posters or pamphlets or whatever. Okay, I can just give you an honest maybe sharing today. You know, one of my friends was actually telling me that she was encouraging one of her friends who's going through abuse to join this webinar. And she, until last minute, she said, I'm not sure she's joining or not.
Yeah.
See, this is the problem. Okay, either people don't want to know that they have a problem, okay, or they are just like ignorant basically about the whole thing, and it's like, well, this is my life, I just have to accept it. No, this is not your life.
But Manjari, could it be also be a fear factor? Yeah, because you see, when
Yes.
we attend and go, we all go back home comfortably, right? But when they attend, then the trigger comes back because
True.
things that they wanted to forget, but now they are reminded.
Yeah, but they are reminded. See, it is the same concept with whether it is substance, alcoholic or drug addict or whoever it is. Okay, even if I was molested, I actually go through the same experience again and again with my therapist, is because I have to get over it. Okay, it's the same principle. Say, for example, somebody passed away in my house. Okay, Mahen can come and ask me, Dixon can come and ask me, although they know how somebody passed away in my house. Why are they doing this? For me to realize that that person is no more. That is what we call as the mourning period, grief, bereavement, whatever. Right? But I'm accepting that this person is no more. I am actually able to like come out of the grief and bereavement, all those things. That's exactly what is happening. But the only difference here in therapy, these people are learning techniques to deal with the thought which is traumatizing them all the time. And they have nightmares, non-stop nightmares. They can't sleep. They wake up with a startle. They wake up. You know, how to stop this? No medicine can stop. There is no magic pill. Unless you deal with your thoughts, which are so like controlling you and so powerful they are.
So the problem and the answer is still within.
Yes. Wherever you go, it is going with you. Even if I go with this thing to US, UK, or Antarctica, Arctica, whatever the thing, it is still there in my head. It doesn't go.
Okay, we've got to catch up with the time. We still have time, yeah. So there's a question: how strong is the support for abuse victims in Malaysia from the government, police, and NGOs? Well, trust me, you will see all the logos at the back of us. Yeah, the National Coalition of Mental Well-being, right? All the effort is being put together now to be like a magnet to bring all bodies together to be able to be helping as many as possible. So in the chat later, they'll share with you all the information. So please be able to get those. Please jot those numbers down. Yeah.
I just want to add. Sorry, Mahin. Whoever asked this question, yes, the help is actually available, but it is not sufficient. It is not enough. Okay, especially if you go to government hospital. I worked in Permai for some time, and I used to have like 8-9 patients per day. Now also I have so many patients per day. And taking into consideration, you are supposed to spend about 45 minutes with patients minimum. Okay. And it will be like you can't even go to the washroom. You are just sitting there non-stop. Okay. And to get an appointment in government is so difficult. And if somebody wants to come to private, it is expensive. And how many people can afford it?
True.
Right. I mean, these are the facts. Okay. This is what is happening in Malaysia.
Okay. Well, some question, Dr. Krishna, your question, I think some of the information already was answered earlier. Maha, you was asking father was abusing the mother, now son is abusing. Like you were saying, it's okay, my father did it, I'm doing it. So you got that answer also. Okay, there's also statistics to share. 30% of our helpline calls are from victims of domestic abuse, violence with suicidal thoughts. Could you share the exit plan rights of the victim?
With suicidal thoughts?
Yes, 30% of our helpline calls are from victims of domestic abuse, violence with suicidal thoughts. Obviously, that's the next progression that will go to end it. I just commit suicide. So could you share the exit plan rights of the victim?
I think what I would do is maybe try to meet the person and, convince the person that, okay, there is help available. Because the thing is, as I said earlier, see, if I have reached the point of suicide, that means it is complete helplessness and hopelessness, right? And it's very difficult to get somebody out of that. So at that point, if we can sort of mobilize somebody, a unit or something to that person's house, if it is of course within our reach, but at least make a phone call and talk to the person, and maybe that is the first step that actually we can do. That's what I do, because I can't go to so many people's houses, especially with all these SOPs and all that, but I take the effort, at least I call the person. That can maybe do some miracle, I don't know.
Right, the next one says, okay, based on all the cases that you've seen, right, would you consider that financial stress contributes to the most domestic violences?
I wouldn't say most of it, but it can be one of the contributing factors, because there are so many more. Yeah, I think right now, pandemic, yes, maybe, because so many people, are retrenched, no jobs, yeah.
Okay. So of course, there are also questions, there are also answers. There's also questions and answers within the person who asked the questions as well. So I may skip some of them, right? So I'm trying to, okay. So, so many of them have actually asked for statistics. Well, Manjari said she doesn't have statistics, right? So
Yeah, but I didn't focus on that. I'm extremely sorry. Please forgive me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so there was one question from, okay, based on the video clip, the gentleman walked in and sat and had a sip of his drink and said to his wife, "You are beautiful," nearing her, but she immediately rejected him and ran, forcing him to follow her. When he nearing, well, he had a lot of time to type this. When he nearing her, she pushed him. I'm telling a story in a story, yeah? So who started the domestic violence? If she had met his demand, I don't think so. DV would have happened. Please comment.
Okay, all right. I think
it's always two sides to yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was so obvious that it was more of a marital rape that was actually happening there. Because see, if you can see from the beginning, the lady was actually having a nightmare, and she was in the prison. The scene, the movie is like she's in the prison, and she was having a nightmare, and somebody wakes her up, and she says, "You are safe." And that is how this thing actually starts, and she is reminded of these episodes. So which means he actually comes home late where she was resting. Okay, that itself shows that I'm not gender biased, please don't get me wrong. Okay, and that shows that the partner was irresponsible. He came home late, he was drinking when he came. Okay, and she also says that you came home and you are actually abusing alcohol. And suddenly he realizes that the wife is beautiful. Why all these days he didn't realize the wife was beautiful? After he had one peg only, he realized that the wife was beautiful. I mean, these are the thoughts that in my head, right? And he actually wanted to have sex with her at that particular time, right? Maybe she didn't want to have sex and she said, not here. Okay, so that means there is a specific area where you're supposed to be intimate with your partner. Right? I mean, these are the questions that I think we need to give importance to, and then only he realizes that the children are actually fast asleep. So if it is a responsible father, would you want to disturb your children? No, right? But he still wanted to have that sex, and he chased her, and when she said no, he made his way and he rapes her. So this is that marital rape. Okay, so just because I'm married to my husband or whatever, okay, there is no written rule that whenever my husband asks to have sex with me, I have to just say yes. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, I may be tired, I'm not in a mood, right? So I have every right to say no. But of course, again, if the husband is saying that, well, every time I come near you, you say no, 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 so then it is definitely a problem. Right? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But
I
I
mean, of
think,
course,
yeah,
right.
sorry,
Of
Mahin.
course, there's also been questions in terms of like, if they come from a poor background, bad socioeconomic situation, all these are contributing factors. Yeah. So for
Yeah.
these and things like that.
Yeah.
So most of the questions that maybe people are asking also, I think one major question, because when they come to you, you are professionally handling it. Yeah. You are professionally in a sense of with the experience, you know how to handle the person who comes to you for a DA, who's domestically abused. Now, people like us who happen to see if someone comes to us and say, I'm abused. Okay, how do we react or how do we respond? I think that would be one of the important things, because it's happening everywhere on a daily basis. We are just ignorant, maybe. Yeah, it's not my problem. We walk away. But if someone really steps up to me, I had a situation. Yeah, I'm also a chairman in my residents association. The guard called me and said, "Sir, this household resident told me not to allow her husband back home." I asked why. Well, basically they're going through a bad patch of marriage, and he's abusing her in the way he's physically abusing her, and he's staying out. And then so told us not to allow him to come in. Now, from the legal perspective, we cannot stop him from coming to his house. Yeah. Correct? Yeah. So the restraining order is she has to make a police report to let him know that, look, I actually have a restraining order. If anything that you come within a certain perimeter, I will report you again. So sometimes this is a situation we could even hear screams everywhere or anywhere, but we don't do anything. But now the question is, if someone comes to us and tells us this, how do we react or how do we respond?
Okay, so if, as you said, you are the chairman of the society or wherever the
Residents
command that you are,
Association.
resident association. So I think as the chairman, I think you definitely have, what shall I say, a say in the whole thing. And especially if it is, shouts or screams or yells, which is maybe disturbing the neighbor or something, I think you can step in. But of course, in a very polite way, you can ask the lady of the house what is actually happening, try to get more information, and ask her, does she believe that the abuse is actually happening? And does she want to report to police? If you can help in some way, you can actually give her the assurance. You can tell her that, okay, I can go with you, or you can call the family members, you can do that. I think that would be the first step. Yeah. And after that, of course, if you can talk to the husband to find out what exactly is the problem, or you can actually give the care lines that we have, actually, maybe any of those numbers, or maybe a professional, you can actually give the number and say, why don't you go and see the person? I would say the lawyer is the last resort, because we don't want to break up the family. I mean, those who come to me with any type of abuse, I try my level best to keep the family together, because the children are involved in it. Okay, because it is very easy to say that, okay, I go my way, you go your way. But I mean, I don't do that. I try my best. And if it's really like impossible, then that is the last resort.
Okay, thank you, Manjari. Of course, we can go on, but I think time does not permit. But maybe to all the questions that have been posed to us, trust me, today was not the forum to tell you what is right, what is wrong. Our right could be wrong to you, your wrong could be right to us. But we have to meet somewhere, in the middle, to create the awareness to take back home. Wow, I think there is something really cooking somewhere. How can we go about? So what we are sharing today with you is not everything about something, but we just shared with you something about everything. So it's just for you to start off to tomorrow to be more cautious and conscious, to see if you come across someone out there, how can we help them? So with that, Manjari, I thank you so much. And before we go, we are supposed to take, so I will pass it back to Terence. Terence, so we'll actually have the review poll to do and also the group photo. Thank you so much, Manjari. Back to you, Terence.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mahendran, and thank you, Manjari, the resident psychologist at Glen Eagles. Has been a very informative, very insightful presentation. I think the participants over here has been commenting the same as well. And I would like to give a shout out to all our participants today. Definitely, we are, I love all your insights, your questions, and you actually add in points to the speaker as well. I think that's fantastic. I think that's what we want to do in the coalition, right? To tackle difficult topics, right? In 1 hour, to see, all these things have been kept under the carpet, like what our speaker Manjari has been saying. The numbers might not be reflective, and people do not want to break out families, and they sweep it and sweep it and sweep it, right? Until it cannot be covered anymore. So right now, I think like what Mahendran have said, can we have the poll, please?
Okay.
So do stay tuned. We have a group photo after the poll. Just let us know, how do you find this webinar? Is it interesting? Is it somewhat interesting? Are you still unsure? All right, thank you for the very positive feedback today. Sudha said excellent sharing. Jennifer said informative sharing. Aslina said great awareness. Isa Yusuf, thank you, welcome.
Okay.
Samuel, thank you, welcome. Good to have you guys here as well. Okay, perhaps we can have a group photo, right? Have a group photo. So everyone, please turn on your camera, look at the webcam in front of you, give your brightest smile possible, so that you look good. In the screenshot that I'm going to take, there are 6 pages in front of me, right? So hold your smile. You never know which page you are at, right? Okay, are you guys ready? Ladies and gentlemen, ready? Okay, page number 1, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let me see if I have it. I got it. Page number 2. Hold your smile. 3, 2, 1. All right. If you want to put the, I can see some heart, finger sign, some thumbs up. You can do that as well. That's great, right? If you have a fancy article or item that you want to hold while taking the photo, please do so. Third page. Fourth page right now. Yes, please exit other with the OK sign. Yes, it's always okay to not be okay. And there we go to the final page. Smile bright, people. And that's it. All right. Okay. So now thank you everyone for your participation. Without further ado, I would like to invite PP Surindran. Surindran, are you in the house, Surindran? We'd like to invite you to say
Yes,
a few words of appreciation to our speaker today.
Thank you, Terence. Thank you. I would like to thank President Mahendran, who did excellent moderation as well. And also for giving me the opportunity to offer a vote of thanks to our speaker for the evening, Rotarian Manjari. Friends, very often topics such as domestic violence or domestic abuse is treated as a joke among friends, or sometimes not spoken at all because it's considered a taboo subject, right? I'm sure we can all agree that tonight's talk was an eye-opener and very well researched, with examples of the causes and effects of domestic abuse, right? I'm confident that the information shared on this subject matter will be of some help to someone out there, or someone even in our Zoom session who might be experiencing domestic abuse, or they might know someone they love, some of their friends who might be experiencing this violence that is affecting their lives, right? And hopefully, this talk will shed some light and empower the victim to take the necessary action, right? And friends, with that, I would like to thank Rotarian Manjari for an excellent presentation and sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, PP Surendran. With this, we'd like to present an e-certificate to R.R. Manjari, a resident psychologist at Gleneagles Hospital, Medini, for your inspirational and invaluable sharing for tonight. This certificate is signed by CP Dr. Raj Kumar from the District Action Group on Mental Health Initiative. With this, we truly appreciate your sharing today, a lot of food for talk. And yeah, in certain things, we might not come to a consensus on the best way or the best course of action. But what is more important is to spark the conversation and know that this is the beginning of something important. Once again, thank you, Manjari. Would you like to say a few words, Manjari?
Thank you, Terence. Thank you, the organizing committee, District 3300. I hope it was useful, and please reach out if you need any help, okay? My email, I think you can get from the organizers. If at all, any help, yes, I'll be very happy to help you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Manjari. Thank you for sharing with us today and spending your time with our audience here. Next up, I would like to perhaps put on the slide if for our core centers.
I don't think we have it ready, Terence.
I see.
We have it, Dr. Dixon.
There you
Yes.
go. There you go.
Okay.
Right. Do know that help is always available. Always reach out. Do not keep it within yourself. There's help out there. There's someone you can speak to. So I would like to encourage all of you to take a screenshot of this. But this same key lines will be available at our National Coalition on Facebook, and Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can find us there, right? Just key in National Coalition for Mental Well-being. You can find us, right? And you can have access to all these helplines. Lastly, I would like to invite the moderator for our next month Thursday talk. It has possibly the most different poster that I've seen so far. With this, please put your hands together for our next moderator. Chia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Terence, for the introduction. First of all, I would like to thank Rotarian Manjari for such an insight and excellent sharing about domestic abuse, and our super moderator, Mahindran, to make this webinar so interesting. All right. 23rd September, it will be our next third Thursday talk. Can we ever separate cheese from burger or take away sambal from our nasi lemak? Just like that, health is inseparable from mental health. Join us in this talk and let's explore some famous stigmas and stop people from reaching out. We will be talking about how the MCO has affected our mental health, how online session has made it seeking session more feasible during this pandemic. Mark your calendars and join us next Thursday talk on 23rd September at 8 p.m. Check out the link we shared at the chat box. Please click and register, and please share with others who might need. Thank you and stay safe, everyone. Back to you, Terence.
Thank you. Our upcoming moderator, Chia. And we have a very exciting Kung Fu poster, and you have the link shared by Dr. Dixon in the chat box to sign up at tinyurl.com 23 September 2021 TTT. Right? Sign up today and be part of our new record-breaking number of signups. right? We have crossed 300 this round. Let's aim for 400 next round. So with this, may you have a good night, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you. And we will see you next month.